Hi, I'm Superman Kep, 2001. Today, we're in a parking lot. We're gonna do a few different exercises and things that you can do in a parking lot when you're out and you just wanna do some practice. So, with that, let's get to it.
Hi. In this exercise, what I'm going to do is I've got a number of cones and they're all spread out about 19 feet apart. And the purpose of this drill is it's about your eye movement and where you should keep your eyes. When you're going through cones like this, what I'm going to be trying to do is keeping my head up, my eyes forward, and using my peripheral vision to see the cones. I will be doing a little bit of push steering. So this helps you with your push steering, and it also helps you with your peripheral. So when you do this drill, you want to be doing it about, in first gear, probably about 10 kilometers or 10 miles an hour sort of thing. And you're just going to be using push steering from side to side and pushing on the right to go right, pushing on the left to go left, and keeping your eyes forward and watching where you're going using your peripheral vision. So that's what I'm doing here.
So the key points to this exercise is keeping your eyes up and using your push steering to get through the cones. You've got lots of room. You've got 19 feet, so it's easy to get through the cones. But it's important to use your peripheral vision so you can see the bottom. I can give you an example of why this is important. I once came over a rise of a hill and there was a whole family of raccoons. I didn't have time to sit and look at the raccoons. What you have to do, I just had to look forward as to where I was going, and I saw a space between a couple of them and I was able to just push around. This is something that you wouldn't be able to do unless you practice. And so you want to be able to practice this so it becomes automatic. So just practice your push steering, going back and forth, and keeping your eyes forward. Eye movement is so important on a motorcycle, and keeping an eye on where you're going. You'll also notice in my clip here, I'm knocking over cones. Well, that's fine. When you're knocking over cones in the parking lot, you're not hitting curbs, you're not hitting cars, you're not hitting objects. So you want to practice doing these sorts of things in the parking lot, back and forth, and go over it over and over again. And so that's pretty much this exercise. Let's move on to the next exercise.
Hi. This is another exercise that you can do in the parking lot. And most parking lot, the spaces are about 18, 19 feet apart. And that's a pretty good place to practice your slow riding. What I'm going to do in this exercise is I'm going to go down the line here, and I'm going to go every other line, and then I'm going to turn around and go back the other way. And what that does is that gives you an opportunity to practice your slow turning both ways. And I do that. The key points in this is staying in the friction zone. And once you're in the friction zone, making sure that you turn your head for proper eye movement. Don't look at where you want to turn your head to look at where you want to go, and practice good eye movement. It's the only way you're going to be able to turn really, really sharply. So let's try that and see what happens.
So a couple of things I want to clarify. The parking spots are 9 feet apart, and when you have 2 parking spots, that's 18 feet apart. And I think that's pretty typical for a lot of parking lots. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm doing some slow riding, and when you do this slow riding, what I'm doing is I go up one line and then I skip the middle one and go to the next line and go down. And I work my way all the way up the parking lot. What's good about this exercise is this forces you to turn both ways, not just one way. It's really easy to turn the way that is most comfortable for you, but by doing this, it forces you to turn both ways. And if you watch, as I come up and down the parking lot, I'm able to make those corners even sharper. A couple of other things that you might be noticing when you're watching me come up and down the parking lot. What you hear the motor revving. Why would I do that? Well, the reason I do that is that it works kind of like a gyroscope. So with that flywheel in the motor spinning and you're going slowly, by giving the throttle just a little blip, it's like it forces the bike upright, and so I'm not likely to fall over. The other thing that people do, and it's a common mistake when you're doing slow riding skills, is you go too slow. The other thing you do is I sit really about as far frontwards as I can on the seat. I've got my right foot just hovering the brake. I might drag the back brake a little bit, but it's important to keep your momentum going. And that's why I'm doing the two things. I sometimes am blipping the throttle, and I'm going at not a really slow pace. I'm going at a little faster pace, because motorcycles work better, turn better, if they're moving. If you go too slow, that's when you're going to fall over. If you give too much back brake, you'll fall over. If you don't have, if the bike you're not blipping the throttle every now and again to hold yourself up, you'll fall over. So you're trying not to fall over, and you're trying to do it and go back and forth and back and forth. I find this exercise above any other will really help you with your slow riding. But if you can watch my head movement, you can probably see it here. When I go, I turn my head like very solidly to the right and then very solidly to the left, and I look about as where it is I want to go in the next spot, and then I make my turn. If you don't turn your head, if you just try to make the turn without turning your head, you're not going to be able to turn as sharp. And if you watch the video here, you can see I am turning that big bike very, very sharply. And by the end of this, I'm probably making the turns in about, 10 or 12 feet. And it's just from going and doing it over and over again and practicing over and over again.